Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, identified in this Durham indictment. What are the implications?
Yeah, what they mean to say is that former Clinton national security advisor, now Biden security advisor, has been tied to the clearly illegal creation of the Russian collusion hoax. I mean, you see, essentially, this is the second big step towards Hillary's doorstep. In the Sussman indictment, which is where this came from, they already said that Fiona Hill, first exposed right here on InfoWars in a breaking news story in which I said that a Soros mole had penetrated the national security apparatus and was involved in the phony Ukrainian coup attempt, whereas, you know, the left accused the President of the United States of leaning on the Ukraine government to investigate Biden, when in fact Biden actually paid off the Ukrainian government with our tax dollars to lay off an investigation into his corrupt retrobate son. This is right out of Alinsky. I mean, it's just right out of Alinsky. So Fiona Hill is identified as having put those who created the 𝐍𝐄𝐒 dossier in touch with Chuck Dolan, who puts them in touch with Hillary Rotten Clinton. So now we have Jake Sullivan, also named in the Sussman indictment, but previously hidden, described as National Security Advisor 1. Today, we finally know his name. These are two more steps taking this back to the queen of this entire hoax, which chewed up millions of dollars and tried to deter Donald Trump from his agenda for 3 or 4 of his 4 years.
Welcome back to the War Room. Today we are just counting up the wins. You know, we are faced with a lot of evil that we are hearing every day, all of the plans and the plots. And, you know, it's nice when we can see what's going on with the Rittenhouse trial and see that the progress is being made, truth is coming out, and now just things continue to heat up with the Durham investigation. Remember when everyone was saying, where's Durham? Oh, well, it seems like Durham showed up. Here he is. Biden National Security Advisor is listed in the Durham indictment. And so we have Roger Stone with us right now. We're here to respond. So what are the implications of this, Mr. Roger Stone? What are the implications of today's revelations that Hillary Clinton, well, actually, that the Biden's national security advisor, see, it all gets mixed up. You know, all roads lead to Hillary Clinton, it seems like. So Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, identified in this Durham indictment. What are the implications?
Yeah, what they mean to say is that former Clinton national security advisor, now Biden security advisor, has been tied to the clearly illegal creation of the Russian collusion hoax. I mean, you see, essentially, this is the second big step towards Hillary's doorstep. In the Sussman indictment, which is where this came from, they already said that Fiona Hill, first exposed right here on InfoWars in a breaking news story in which I said that a Soros mole had penetrated the national security apparatus and was involved in the phony Ukrainian coup attempt, whereas, you know, the left accused the President of the United States of leaning on the Ukraine government to investigate Biden, when in fact Biden actually paid off the Ukrainian government with our tax dollars to lay off an investigation into his corrupt retrobate son. This is right out of Alinsky. I mean, it's just right out of Alinsky. So Fiona Hill is identified as having put those who created the 𝐍𝐄𝐒 dossier in touch with Chuck Dolan, who puts them in touch with Hillary Rotten Clinton. So now we have Jake Sullivan, also named in the Sussman indictment, but previously hidden, described as National Security Advisor 1. Today, we finally know his name. These are two more steps taking this back to the queen of this entire hoax, which chewed up millions of dollars and tried to deter Donald Trump from his agenda for 3 or 4 of his 4 years. I believe in the end we will learn that Sidney Blumenthal is the likely architect of this entire charade, one in which they tried to imprison me, and today they harassed me with endless, baseless groundless, unsubstantiated, but really sensationalized civil lawsuits that are meant to grind me down with legal fees and to defame me in the fake news media. They just don't quit. And Alex Jones himself has safe this kind of thing. The lawsuits for the truth tellers just keep coming at us, but that doesn't mean we're ever going to stop telling the truth. The point here is tick tock, it's time to lock her up. The whole thing is coming right back to her doorstep, as I predicted here. You have the Fiona Hill, Chuck Dolan, Clinton connection. Now you have the Jake Sullivan, the authors of the Steele dossier connections to Jake Sullivan through the Coy Perkins law firm, taking it another step closer to Hillary.
And so do you think that we're actually going to see this happen? I mean, what's interesting for me as a former traditional news, we'll say, news anchor, I remember covering up this kind of stuff, and it would be written in the scripts as like that it was done deal, basically, that Trump was colluding with Russians. Now we're seeing it was like, well, many of us have already known this for a long time, but it's being more and more confirmed to the point that traditional or legacy media can't even hide it anymore, that it was really the other way around, that it seems that, that they were colluding.
If you see Fiona Hill go on CBS where she claims that Alex Jones and I conducted a smear campaign against her, where she says, I'm not even political and I don't know what a globalist is, and I had death threats. Look, you were the editor of theglobalist.com. You're not non-political, you're anything but. I was first tipped off by one of my sources who told me that Hill was pushing for the U.S. government to put pressure on the Hungarian government to ease up on George Soros. They have correctly identified Soros as an anti-democratic, terrorism-sponsoring bad guy, which they have the authority to do. No, we don't have a right-wing authoritarian government in Hungary. We have a democratic-based government where we have a president who knows how to use his legitimate powers to crush people who are trying to undermine the country, people who are involved in treasonous activity. God bless him.
My goodness. So do you think, I mean, it's just heating up and it's like, for many of us, it's like, finally, do you think that we're going to finally see?
Don't pop the champagne corks yet. Let's remember that Mr. Durham still reports to Merrick Garland. You know who he is. He's the fellow who essentially got caught trying to create evidence that there were complaints that parents who went to their school boards to express their views regarding their children's curriculum should be termed domestic terrorists. The reason they do this is because if you are identified by the government as a domestic terrorist, they can read your emails, listen to your phone calls, look at your text messages. They can even surveil you from across the street without an order from a federal judge. They can arrest you in secret. They don't have to announce it or acknowledge it. They can try you in secret. They can incarcerate you in secret. They could even execute you in secret. That's why they use this language. People who express their concerns about their children's education, those who ask legitimate questions about election integrity and about the extraordinary number of anomalies and irregularities in the 2020 election. We are not domestic terrorists. We're also not conspiracy theorists. We're conspiracy realists, as Gore Vidal once put it. We go where the evidence leads. That's the hallmark here at InfoWars. I mean, when I got the news that Fiona Hill, a Soros mole, had deeply penetrated the Trump White House, in the guts of the national security apparatus, there was only one journalist who was willing to go with this story, and now he and I and InfoWars are vindicated.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to note that many of these articles point out and stress, though, that Jake Sullivan is merely mentioned in the indictment and that he's not a target of the investigation.
Here's the question we have to ask. At the end of the day, Mr. Durham so far has been a bit slow. I would say very slow, as in, John, what's taken so friggin' long? On the other hand, so far he has laid out the criminal path that goes right to Hillary Clinton's door. By the way, that's the name of the clip for this. There's no question about that. Now the question is whether his boss, Merrick Garland, will permit him to bring those prosecutions, or do we have a politicized Justice Department? In other words, are they going to rig a federal prosecution? We have seen this before. Look, we're already in a nation where the FBI storms the home of a journalist to try to figure out his source of information that, to my knowledge, has never even been published by Project Veritas. I don't recall them ever using such
I was going to ask you about that because I instantly thought of you when he released his statement and filmed that to post on social media. He said it was interesting that the New York Times was calling and asking us about a situation that we were told not to talk about. So how did they know? And I instantly thought of you because I was like, wow, this sounds familiar.
Very, very clear. Here's a shout out to my friend James O'Keefe. They only sent 17 agents after you. They sent 29 after me. So I still hold the record for a political and abusive use of our judicial process. Look, CNN just happened to be there. They won an award because of it. The fact that the CNN texted my lawyer a copy of my sealed indictment 3 hours before it was unsealed, and then it had Andrew Weissman's initials in the metadata tag, a crime, by the way, to leak a pending search or arrest warrant. No, CNN didn't just happen to be there. They were there specifically for the purpose of trying to paint me as a bad guy. I mean, they sent more guys after me than they sent to get bin Laden. Look, I kind of remember, I'm kind of thinking at this moment of Tony Montoya. You only got two things in this world: your word and your balls, as he would say.
Well, that just about cuts it. And so I also want to just, while I have you, ask you about how your wife's doing.
Thank you. That's very kind. My wife is suffering from stage 4 cancer. I believe this is PTSD brought on by the stress of 2 years of pressure on us, economic, financial, and of course, legal. I was about to be lynched. The natural and all homeopathic things she needs to gin up her natural immunity, the key to beating cancer, are expensive. Folks who want to help can go to stonefamilyfund.com, stonefamilyfund.com. First, we need your prayers. Then, if you can send something, God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Roger. If you can stick around. Welcome back to the War Room. We are in our second hour, and thankfully, Mr. Roger Stone has agreed to stay on in this first segment before we pitch it on over to Robert Barnes. So thank you again, Roger Stone, for sticking on. And we were mentioning your stonefamilyfund.com. It's definitely not cheap to defend yourself from the political attacks and just constantly, even when you are innocent, you have to put the money forward to defend yourself. And then, as you were saying before the break, your wife has had to endure a lot of stress because of all of this.
I'm convinced that stress is the triggerer of cancer. That's what the doctors tell us. And there's just many, many positive things you can do. Intravenous infusions of massive doses of vitamin C, D, B17 in a host of different applications, specially tailored THC and CBD oil as cancer fighters, radical change of your diet, many different types of mushrooms in a certain sequence, oxygenation of the blood, oxygenation of the water. There are certain legal drugs that aren't prescribed for cancer, but my wife chooses to take them. I think she's doing extraordinarily well, but flying the water in from a special spring in Colorado from Uncle Charlie is not inexpensive. So yes, folks who can go to the Stone Family Fund, I think it is vitally important to raise your immunity as quickly and as aggressively as possible. My wife is doing that. She thanks the many people praying for us and who have sent their good wishes. This is definitely this woman is a Cuban American, a fierce anti-communist. My rock during the trial. I mean, just my rock when they were trying to destroy me and my family. And in those days that I got dejected or I was, depressed or I felt cornered and trapped, she was the one who would say, no, fight on. Put your faith in God and fight on. And now it's just incredibly unfair, now that we might perhaps get back to a normal life, that she has been stricken like this. But I must tell you, and Alex Jones has experienced this as well, I never understood the impact on us economically of being canceled, deplatformed, silenced, gagged. It is devastating. So selling my books, which are all bestsellers, but I'm not selling them on Facebook because I'm banned on Facebook, and I'm banned on Instagram, and I'm banned on Twitter, and I'm banned on Instagram. So yes, if you can help my beautiful wife of 30 years in this epic fight, we would deeply appreciate it.
Very good. And we were talking about the Durham investigation continuing to it seems to continue to get closer and closer to Hillary Clinton and that campaign. And are we missing anyone? Is there anyone else nefarious in this plot that we're going to find out?
Yes, here we need to examine the role of Eric Sierra, I think I'm spelling that correct, former CIA operative planted in the office of the hapless Adam Schiff. We have his misconduct is yet to be widely exposed. Remember, he said he had seen substantial evidence of Russian collusion, yet he has produced not a whit, not a whiff. And he has to be held to account for that. There's trouble brewing back in his district, believe it or not. Many on the left don't think he's liberal enough. How do you like that?
That's insane.
So everybody's waiting for the congressional redistricting, but a Latino woman who's in the LGBT community could give Adam a hell of a run, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to look back and even remember him saying, like, it's coming, we have it, I just found out. And it's just like, where are you now? I mean, is he even saying anything? Is he just ignoring all of this information coming out?
Recently, he wrote a book in which he recycled the fiction that Bill Barr, as Attorney General, leaned on the prosecutors on my case for leniency. The three top prosecutors, non-political career prosecutors at the DOJ, have told the Inspector General under oath there was never any such pressure from them, although that's who the prosecutor says pressured them. So it's all a lie. It's an abject lie. But so Adam Schiff, my bottom line on this is if it's Schiff, flush it. Now,
yeah. All right, Roger, thank you for coming on. We're going to pray for your wife and pray for justice. Thank you again.